In the spring of 1871, a young man that was riddled with anxiety had read 21 words that had a profound effect on his life in the future. Now, this man at the time was actually a medical student that was working out of Montreal General Hospital. And he had all of these worries like, am I going to pass this final exam? Where am I going to go after I'm done with school here? Am I going to make it in business? All of these worries. But these 21 words that he read actually helped shape him to become one of the most well-known physicians in his generation. Now, who is this man? What were these 21 words that he read? Well, I'm going to share you guys that story in this video. So I wanted to jump on video and actually share a story from a very important figure in medical history. And what's crazy is even though the story took place in the late 1800s, the lessons that can be learned from the story I think are more applicable today than even when they were back then. And the story is actually an excerpt. You can find it in one of Dale Carnegie's books. And he shares the story of a medical student who was working out of Montreal General Hospital. This medical student was like so worried that he was going to fail his final exam, not get his degree, not know where he was going in the future, didn't know if he was going to make it in business. And he ended up reading these words, these 21 words that had a profound influence in his life in the future and actually helped him live a life free of worry and anxiousness. This alone actually helped him become one of the more well-recognized clinicians during his time. This particular clinician was one of the 4 clinicians that founded Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. He was one of the most well-known professors at Oxford University. He has, when you look in medical textbooks, he's been written about countless times, and he's actually been knighted by the King of England himself. Now, who is this man? This man goes by Sir William Osler. Here are the 21 words that he read that helped him live a life free of worry and anxiousness. Our main business is not to see what lies dimly at a distance, but to do what lies clearly at hand. This quote is from Thomas Carlyle. Now, many think that William Osler had a brilliant mind, with him being the professor at 4 different universities, him being one of the founders of Johns Hopkins University. But Sir William Osler would actually be the first to tell you that his brain was of mediocre caliber. So then what was the secret to his success? Dr. William Osler states that the secret to his success was his ability to be able to live his life in daytight compartments. What does this mean? Well, he would actually share this story during his time in Yale. He would actually tell this story to his students. Now, Dr. Osler was constantly visiting different countries. Remember, he was professor at 4 different universities. He founded Johns Hopkins, so he was a busy man. And during one of his trips where he was sailing across the Atlantic, he was on one of these giant ocean liners. And these ocean liners had captains with them that were steering the ship, but they also had a button where the captain, in a push of a button, can immediately set off this mechanism where all of the individual compartments of the ship were sealed off from one another in what they would call watertight compartments. Now, this would prevent the ship from pulling in water if it was starting to sink. It was like an anti-sinking mechanism. During his time at Yale, he would always share this lesson with his students. When he was teaching, he would teach about his time on these ocean liners. And he would, of course, recognize and appreciate that the human body is a lot more complex and a lot more marvelous than a big ocean liner. But he would say, like the ocean liner, in the push of a button, we would need the ability to be able to seal our life in what he would call these day-tight compartments. Touch a button and have the iron door clank and seal off the past of dreaded yesterdays. Touch another button and seal off the unborn tomorrows. Dr. Osler would say, then you are safe for today. Dr. Osler would teach that this is the only way that you can ensure safety in your life's voyage, to live your life in day-tight compartments. You see, those who tend to run depressive, they tend to have a lot of their thoughts preoccupied in the past, and then they project that into the future like there's no hope for change. And those who have any anxious tendencies or worrisome tendencies, they tend to have their thoughts preoccupy the majority of the future, which hasn't even happened yet. Those who are anxious they either fortune tell or predict the worst about the many infinite possibilities that can be the future. Living your life in day-tight compartments doesn't mean don't plan for the future. It means don't spend every waking hour thinking about events in the future that haven't even happened yet. Like an ocean liner that's taking in water, you need to be able to seal your life off into day-tight compartments, or seal off the pressures of the past, the pressures of the future, and live your life for today. For those who are truly living in the present moment, it's next to near impossible to be anxious and worrisome. It's only when the infinite possibilities of the future start pouring in and preoccupying your headspace, only then is when people start to become anxious. Nobody on this planet, I don't care who you are, can carry the burden of the infinite future on their shoulders. Now, like any skill, the skill of mindfulness takes a long time to be able to master, and it really is kind of a lifelong mastery with all of this. But if you find yourself preoccupied in future-oriented events, show yourself some love, show yourself self-compassion, and gently bring your mind back to today and live your life in these day-tight compartments that Dr. Osler was talking about.